Greetings, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you. We are studying Insights to the End Times. We're looking at 2 Timothy chapter 3, where Paul wrote Timothy, the pastor of the church in Ephesus, and he said, "Know this, in these last days, perilous times will come." Perilous times means exceedingly dangerous, exceedingly wicked days are coming. As we read through these verses, we are finding a lot of signs that point to these perilous days, these perilous times we're in. I'm in verse number 5 today. It says, "Having a form of godliness, but denying its power, from such people turn away." We began looking at this last week in one session. We're continuing it today. Last week we looked at the fact that this is an internal issue. Not just external, but internal. It's the way we look at things. Today I want to look at the fact that our churches and our believers have essentially turned from solid Bible material teaching the verses to current trends and worldly trends, because most growing churches have adopted these trends. And they have shifted their gears. They've shifted what they're teaching, how they dress, what they do in service, etc. This isn't going over well with Jesus. If you were to turn to Revelation chapter 2 and 3, you would see him addressing 7 churches. And he makes several statements. I want to just highlight several verses. The church in Ephesus, he said, "You have left your first love. You no longer are totally committed to me. You're backslidden, in other words. You're indifferent. You're lackadaisical." He commanded them to repent. That's where a lot of our churches are in North America today. We have shifted gears. We've adopted trends. We've strayed from the Bible. The church in Pergamos had compromised the truth. They had allowed false doctrine to enter in. They had allowed sexual immorality to come in. They even practiced Nicolaitan practices, and that's a topic for another day. Jesus commanded them to repent. The church in Thyatira was corrupt. They had a Jezebel spirit, a commanding or controlling spirit. They were endorsing things like sexual immorality, adultery, and so on. He said, you're going to go through the Great Tribulation. The church in Sardis was a dead church. Oh my gracious. He told them to repent or else their names would be blotted out of the book of life. How many dead churches do we have in existence today? Having a form of godliness, denying the power thereof. He commanded them to repent as well. The church in Laodicea, maybe the one that we talk about the most, it was the lukewarm church, neither hot nor cold. He said, "I'm going to spew you, or I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth." In other words, if you're a lukewarm believer, you're likely going to be in trouble. Here's what the believers of that church said. "Hey, we're rich, we're wealthy, we don't have need of anything." Isn't that the way you hear most Christians today? We're rich and we're wealthy, we don't have any need of anything. Jesus had a different opinion. He said, "You're wretched, you're miserable." Oh my gracious, wretched, miserable, poor, blind, naked. He commanded them to repent. He rebuked them. What a difference between his attitude and their attitude. So today in our society, you may be attending a church that has a good form of godliness. You know, they have hymn books, or they have praise and worship. They have symbols that they dress on the stage in a fashion that it appears to be a religious church, but there's no power. None whatsoever, hasn't been for years. These are signs of the last days. Got a little bit more on this for you tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining us.